myself. You feel me? I just made these videos for myself, and that's just how it is. You know, if people find it for entertainment, so be it. I need to find a blanket or like a hoodie or something. Oh, it's too cold, man. You know, I was just watching something, and it's talking about, well, not it's talking about, but it basically said, you know, every living creature dies alone. Every living creature dies alone. Regardless of your philosophical views, your religious views, or whatever, you know, it's a scary reality. You know, when you face death, if and when, well, not if and when, sorry, you know, when it's inevitable, you know, you're going to be alone. You know, regardless of, you know, if someone's standing at your bedside, if you're, you know, going through a pleasurable experience or something like that, and, you know, all of a sudden you're dying alone. There's no, you know, debating that, essentially. But it's almost like what came to my mind, it was the movie, what was the movie? Donnie Darko was the movie, and I want to watch it. I want to see what it has to say. You know, I'm excited to see what it entails. But I feel like, yeah, you know, if you really think about it, you know, since, you know, I'm religious, and, well, actually, I wouldn't even say I'm religious. Yes, I'm religious, but I have a relationship with Jesus. And that, I think, would kind of prevent a fear of dying alone. You know, because humans, that's a big thing. You know, humans understand that death is inevitable. And I feel like, you know, everything we kind of do leading up to that could be justified as a coping mechanism, for example. You know, a lot of people don't want to even think about that idea until they have to, if that makes sense. So yeah, you know, I feel like I have kind of peace knowing that I'm going to die alone on Earth. On Earth, yes, the physical, the material, I will die alone. But I'm not going to die alone in my heart, if that makes sense. You know, Jesus is by your side, even if you know it or don't. So, you know, that was kind of my, you know, that's kind of how the idea came about. You know, because at first I was like, wow, you know, I'm actually kind of scared, you know, dying alone. Like, it's blunt, it's true. There's no getting around it. You know, no one's going to go through it with you except Jesus. So I think that's a perfect segue into our daily Bible gospel. And yeah, you know, it was a tough one. I gotta watch that movie. I really want to see what it entails. But yeah, you know, that's all I got for now. Gospel. Jesus departed from there and came to his native place, accompanied by his disciples. When the Sabbath came, he had began to teach in the synagogue, and many who heard him were astonished. They said, "Where did this man get all this? What kind of wisdom has been given him? What mighty deeds are wrought by his hands?" I don't know. I've never seen that word. "Is he not the carpenter, the son of Mary, and the brother of James and Joseph and Judas and Simon? And are not his sisters here with us?" And they took offense at him. Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor except in his native place, and among his own kin and his own house." So he was not able to perform any mighty deed there, apart from curing a few sick people by laying his hand on them. He was amazed at their lack of faith. I'm gonna break this apart a little bit. The line that we have to really focus on is, "A prophet is not without honor except in his native place and among his own kin and in his own house." So, you know, Jesus was essentially saying, you know, I'm not I want to make sure I'm making sure, you know what I'm saying? I want to make sure. So not without, a prophet is not without honor. So indicating that an action cannot or will not happen unless a specific condition or item is met. Example, not without a ticket means you cannot enter unless you have a ticket. It's a strict condition, often meaning only with or unless. So a prophet is not without honor except in his native place and among his own kin and his own house. So I feel like this is kind of explaining how Jesus almost limits his power around the people that are closest to him, if that makes sense. I was going to not use GBT, but it is too late and we have to use GBT. Okay. So yeah, I got the right idea, but I don't have the right idea. Means that people closest to the someone, your family, your neighbor, acquaintances, best friends, whatever, often fail to appreciate or honor them, which is, the person, me or you, because they are too familiar with their past, making them skeptical of their authority or message. Which makes a lot of sense. And that's why it says he was amazed at their lack of faith. So as a result of not seeing, they weren't able to believe, and that's not the way it should be. The gospel yesterday talked about how the woman touched Jesus' cloak and she was healed, and he said, by your faith, you are saved. Essentially, you have been healed, and that goes back into it ties hand in hand, But I think it's kind of emphasizing the fact that people who are close to someone, so like family, neighbors, acquaintances, best friends, etc., they fail to appreciate or honor them because they are too familiar with their past, making them skeptical of authority or message. And yeah, so that's the gospel. Essentially, if you're familiar, it breeds being content, if that makes sense. Skeptical, the closer I am. You don't really give as much leeway to one person. It kind of seems backwards, but it's just how it is, man. It's just how it is. Let's get into the trading day. Classical trading day, nothing. No trades taken. Only on the Top Step Challenge, which is actually, let me log in for a second. I'm going to explain these other executions though, because, what's it called? Trade 8 was down. Trade 8 was down when I wanted to, just he was down in general. I wasn't really looking forward to a trade, but it went down, so I was unable to trade, if that makes sense. So yeah, this is NASDAQ. On the larger time frame, I was bearish to these relative equal lows. Pretty obvious draw. And yeah, I was just acting off of that. So, if we go to market open, on the 5 minute, we sweep higher. Market opens, we market structure shift below this low. We then get a retracement back up into this high, and we don't take it. We don't take it, and we don't take it because it's a market maker sell model. That hits our -4 standard deviation, but this was NASDAQ's move. I would have liked to maybe take nothing on NASDAQ, but then I'm gonna explain this trade. So I was in the gym. I saw we swept at our highs, first presented, put in relative equal lows. Still have this resting liquidity down here. We market structure shifted below this low, and I took an entry. I had my stop loss above this high. Once we swept this internal low, I'm like, we're stalling too much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles, so 6 minutes. One break even there, or on here, I guess, and then it just stopped me out right there. We'll break even. If I had my stop there, this is kind of the trade idea. I was just in the gym, and I wasn't able to look at it like a larger time frame context. If I was able to, then I definitely would have been chilling. I would have definitely targeted that. and eventually TP would have been hit. But break even on that trade, so nothing crazy. More importantly though is ES. Off rip, I was bearish to this low, this low. I was not seeing these lows, to be honest. I just wanted this minor sell side. So yeah, I pretty much got immediately short. We sweep this high. As soon as market opens, we get a market structure shift, and then we break lower. And as soon as we take out this internal low, I'm taking my partial. I'm taking a partial just because I know that we completed the sell model on a more, not macro time frame, I'm about to say, just a smaller time frame, essentially. We completed that market maker sell model once we sweep out this low. So it took some partial there. It was like $100. It was nothing crazy. I had 6 cons run. I took off 2. So it was yeah. And we ran higher, hit my break even, and that was it. I did want to see this though. So this is where I realized TradeZ is shut down. So yeah, we market structure shifted above this high, and I was surprised because on the top step I took a long. I would have never taken a long on the funded account on this. We market structure shifted above this high, you can see there, and we immediately reject lower, and I take a long pretty much right before we do that. So right around here I long, and I long in there. I'm like, all right, this is looking good. We're about to take London highs right here, and then we absolutely dump, and this dump, boom, goes below this low. What is that low? 15-minute market maker sell model. So as soon as you tap in right there, retracement, your entries, you should be firing off entries in here. This is the protected high. Monday, first benefit value gap, you're good to go. I don't even know where the one for today is, right there, I guess. And yeah, you're just firing off shorts. So I banged on shorts there. Longed here, stopped like around here, shifted. There's my bearish bias on the day to these relative equal lows, and then shorting here, targeting like here, or when NASDAQ took out its large time from relative equal lows, which is right here. So you can see how kind of that matches up right there. And then yeah, that was it. Nothing else on the day. I wish I could have got this entry, but I couldn't. I had, what's it called? TradeZ was down, man. TradeZ was down. Like, it literally was down for, I think, it had to be less than, what, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Because as soon as the move was over, I tried to log back in and it worked. So I was like, all right, well, that's just how it is, I guess, right? So on the top step, we're doing good. No trade on Monday. Whatever. I'm going to try to pass this account at least. We'll see. Hopefully by this week, realistically, because with these evals, it's pretty easy. It's just about risk management when you get to the big leagues on these trader baits, and especially with live trailing drawdown, you got to be a little more skeptical. And but yeah, so the plan is from here to copy trade the 25K account along with the 50K account, but because I've been bouncing accounts, like this trade was not taken on both accounts. I've been bouncing between accounts, and it's just going to make my not even equity curve, just it's going to make the process longer. There's no reason for me to be separating the accounts based off of size. I don't need to blame size. So this is my thing. I'm about halfway to payout balance for Apex on the 25K. So I'm just going to trade the 25K risk. So 25K risk, regardless, doesn't matter. And the 50K is just going to be tagging along with it. It doesn't matter, because then if I run up my balance to payout threshold on the 25K, it'll put me in a great position. I'll need about 2R, so about $1,000 after that to then get the payout from the 50K account. So yeah, that's just how it's gonna be. Low and slow. Not even worrying about the money aspect of it. Especially yesterday with gold. I not even look at gold today because gold is a mess. I didn't like it whatsoever. Yeah, I did not like gold whatsoever, and it just kind of looked whack today. So then I was like, perfect. I can just go back to my indices, and that's kind of the benefit of trading 3 assets at this point, is knowing, or indexes, is knowing that there's more options out there. You have 3 markets to find something on, and if you can't, It's not meant to be. You feel me? So yeah, no trades today except on the top step. Just a little small day. Nothing crazy. Looking to pass this account this week. If not, next week. No rush with it. It's about just being smart with your capital on the top step challenges. Because I took a $400 loss, and then I obviously made back that loss, and so a $700 win. But yeah, it's just about managing risk realistically. It's not you can over risk, but if you know how to manage your over risking, especially on challenges, then you'll be good to go. So yeah, that's kind of how it is. Nothing crazy, and yeah, I will see y'all tomorrow for February 5th, Thursday, God willing. Stay safe, and remember, do not be afraid. You are going to die alone, but you're not going to die alone. That's all I gotta say. Have a great one. Peace out.